guys, welcome back to the channel. Finn here. This might be a bit of a long video. I make no apologies for it. It needs I need to put across some points on this and give you guys some food for thought. It comes in direct response kind of to a video I put out recently. I didn't compare, I just happened to have with me my Walther, and I was reviewing a Hatson Factor, and it unintentionally almost turned out to be like a versus type video. It certainly wasn't intended from the get-go to be that. It just the situation dictated that was what happened. As expected, of course, a little bit of division, but it's all good. I like listening to everyone's point of view, but once again I find myself having to put across these points I'm now going to make, so bear with me with this, and let's put this to bed. This also comes as a direct result of a viewer comment, which seems to be how things are going at the moment, and it also comes directly in relation to another UK airgun channel I watched, and to be fair, I was absolutely horrified from the thing what was suggested on there. Now, straight off the bat, I'm gonna talk. This is purely to do with hunting, target shooting, tin cans. I want to put this out here before I sort of launch into anything. I don't care what sort of shooting you do, as long as you're being safe, legal, and it's ethical and all the rest of it. Power to you. If you're a guy who likes shooting a 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old springer at tin cans in the garden, brilliant. No axe to grind there. If you like going out bench rest shooting the latest greatest PCP, no problems with that. Or if you're just like me, just a normal guy, enjoys his air guns, who likes going out and occasionally taking a bunny for the pot, doing a bit of pest control and doing a little bit of target work, sort of the general air gun side of things, all good. If you're one of the guys who likes getting a rifle, getting it home, stripping it down, finding out how it works and then tinkering around, it's all good. Everything's all good. But where I take an exception to things, where I see not a falsehood, but where I see irresponsible things suggested on airgun channels, especially in the UK. And why I keep going on about the UK is, unlike other countries, let's say like the States and that, us shooters are under a hell of a lot of scrutiny all the time. And I've said this so many times on the channel, by the actions of few, many will be judged. So it's our responsibility, if we want to keep shooting unlicensed, the 12-foot-pound air rifles and stuff, to be responsible and legal shooters. So this is where I'm coming from. I don't want to see any further restrictions put on our sport. And trust me guys, if anyone who doubts what I'm saying, just look what happened come 2015 in Scotland. They now have to have an air weapons certificate, which is all intents and purposes a firearms certificate. So much for it being a light touched certificate, it isn't at all. It is just, you have to jump through the same hoops as you would for ownership of a full bore rifle. So I don't want to see that happening in England and Wales. I don't want to see any restrictions placed on our sport, and there are plenty out there you quite happily see our sport taken away from us, and this is what annoys me the most when I see airgun channels doing stupid ass things and suggesting silly things, and no. So if I see it happening, I will jump on it straight away because I get really annoyed. Right, so first and foremost, I'll put some notes down. You know I'm serious if I've got my notes there. Right, certain airgun channel, I'm not going to mention it, but he seems that this chappie who runs the channel, fair play to him, he seems to like doing long range shooting, fair play, and he likes his high end PCPs, fair play, I haven't got an issue with that. Where I get the arse ache from is when he is suggesting with a 12 foot-pounder air rifle that you can start popping off bunnies with the latest and greatest like PCP at 60 metres. No, that is irresponsible as anything to even suggest that. He may be the world's greatest shot and all the rest of it, but to put it across the board that these rifles, and indeed the average shooter, is capable of doing that is absolutely bullshit. I'm going to say it, it's wrong, and it's irresponsible for me to even suggest that. What an idiot. Sorry guys. Right, and I will back up what I've just said with the reality of it all. So, right, let's get this out of the bat, right? And I'm just for argument's sake, and it's not knocking the particular gun at all, but I'm going to talk about an FX impact because it seems like this is what all the long range shooters seem to do when they're popping off bunnies and stuff. So I will use that as my the gunning topic, should we say. Right, the FX impact is an awesome bit of kit when it works, don't ask, and it is more than capable of killing cleanly any UK quarry at 60 metres. It has the power and it's got the accuracy. However, and this is the big caveat on it, can it do it consistently? Right, by that, now, a lot of these gun reviewers and stuff, these channels, what are even remotely suggesting such nonsense, they're shooting in a controlled environment. They've got a rifle on a bipod, shooting on a range, sitting down, they're nice and warm, the weather isn't that bad usually, but even if it is bad, more than that in a second, they're shooting in a controlled environment, they're in a nice relaxed frame of mind and all the rest of it. That is not what a majority of hunting's like. Now, I will say this, I watched a video where certain chappie put several rounds downrange at 60 and 75 metres, all well and good. Right, let's talk about kill zones on a bunny and on a pigeon, on a squirrel and stuff like that. Well, the old standard used to be whatever range you could group consistently, is the word consistently, a 1 inch group was your max range you shot at. I would argue 1 inch, which is 24, yeah, about 24 odd millimetres, is too big. Anyone doubting this, I would have a, next time you come across the pigeon or whatever, I would have a look at their actual head size and the actual kill zone on that animal, or even a bunny or whatever, I would suggest I would bring that down from 1 inch to probably ½ inch. That is in my mind what you're going to achieve clean kills at. This chappie shooting at stupid ranges and advocating like you can just go out and pop stuff at that range. When I watched his video, he stacked 3 or 4 pellets in the same hole. I can't remember off the top of my head, but okay, we'll say he put 4 shots stacked in one hole and then had a flyer. Remember, this guy's a flyer. So the 5th shot then went, well it went considerably further than 1 inch away from his group. So then when you do the math, it's quite simple, isn't it? If 4 out of 5 shots are going there, it's an 80% chance of you getting a clean kill at that range. Do you guys think an 80% chance of a clean kill at 60 yards is acceptable? I don't. This is why on this channel I always advocate bringing your shots in. What you've got to remember, as range increases, all other factors increase with the range to actually start pulling your shots out. There's so many factors, right? And I'm going to just cover a few here. First and foremost, these are all things what can affect the accuracy on the rifle. You've got your pellet weight. Now, if you get a slight deviation in pellet weight, it's going to either make your shots go high, low, whatever. If the pellet is damaged slightly, it's going to affect your fall of shot and your, we'll talk about point of impact, it's more professional and it's the proper word really to use. It's going to affect your point of impact. All the other things what you can get what deviate your shot. Velocity deviation. There is an air rifle out there what I've come across what can consistently produce with 0 spread the same velocity. You will always have a deviation in velocity. There may be only a few feet per second, but further out you go, those few feet per second really matter. They can lower your shot or raise your shot from your point of impact, point of aim. You have, right, it's all well and good you've been able to shoot tiny weeny little groups with your rifle all bank rested or bipodded up or put in a lead sled. Brilliant. If you're doing that every time you're going out hunting, are you really going to be sitting down and shooting from the comfort of a bench in a nice warm environment? You've got so many factors to take into account. Your shooting angle, wind speed, you've got your wind angle. Wind doesn't always blow perpendicular to the shoot where you're actual shooting. It can come in at a quarter an angle, going away, an oncoming breeze. This will all affect your point of impact from your point of aim. This is something what the only way to negate it is practice, bring your shots in. The closer in you are, the less deviation the wind will have on your shot. The further out it goes, the more profound the effect will be on the actual projectile going down range. And I don't care whether we're talking about pellets here or bullets in a centerfire rifle. If you're shooting a centerfire rifle at 100 yards, a gale force wind isn't going to have that much effect. It's going to shift your point of aim, but you shooting a gale force wind at 300-400 metres and it's drifting. And it's the same with an air gun. we're talking about a lot lower velocities than a centerfire rifle. So what I'm saying is, guys, the closer we bring our shots in, the less effect the wind is going to have on our point of impact from our point of aim. But we then go into things like altitude. Where you are in relation to the sea level has an effect. If you're shooting, I don't know, halfway up the Swiss Alps, or I don't know, Scottish Highlands up Ben Nevis, it's going to have a different effect on your point of impact than it is shooting like me in the flats of East Anglia. What other one? Temperatures, ambient temperatures, and this is especially true with PCPs. This will affect the air pressure in your cylinder, and this will affect your point of impact from your point of aim. Hot weather, you'll generally, just like CO2, hot weather you'll generally get higher velocities. Higher velocities will raise your point of impact than you would in sub-zero temperatures. Sub-zero temperatures is going to drop the pressure in your cylinder, and you'll find like that your point of impact will shoot low. Humidity. If you're shooting in wet weather, that's going to have an effect on your point of impact. And a nice bright sunny day. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? There's so many things to take into consideration, and the way you negate all these things I've just mentioned is bring your shots in. The less time your pellet has to fly from your rifle to your target, the less it can be affected from external influences. And there I'm just talking about external influences. Let's talk about other things as well. Let's talk about the shooter. Let me suggest this, guys. If you've been stupid enough to have a skinful of beer the night before and gone out extremely hungover, you're not going to be able to hold your rifle steady as you would if you're cold sober. If you're tired, if you haven't had much sleep at all, I don't know, you might have been working a night shift and thought, I don't know, I'm going to go out and shoot early in the morning, pop off a couple of bunnies. Shooter fatigue is going to have an effect on your accuracy, and how you negate that is, one, you don't do it, especially if you're hungover, but the closer in your shots, the less deviation you're going to get, and it's just facts. Shooting positions, I touched on this. When you're out hunting, you're not going to have the luxury of taking your your gun sled with you and all the good stuff. And I would even argue, even if you're taking the latest greatest clamped down bipod, you're still then going to have an effect on your accuracy, because you're standing shooting, even if it's clamped in a bipod at long ranges, you've still got another point where you're contacting with the ground, i.e. your legs, and you're not going to be able to hold that steady as you are sitting down. It's all these things. Do you see where I'm going with this, guys? So yeah, I'm just going to throw that out there. If you don't believe me, if you think what I'm talking is nonsense, I've got a little test you can do, and it's really easy. I would suggest that if you think what I've just said is absolute nonsense, hold a broom by its handle, or by the head of the broom, and try to hold it right by the head, get a nice 6 foot, say, broom handle, or 5 foot broom handle, and try to turn off a light switch and see how you wriggle around. Now hold the broom 2 or 3 inches or a foot from the end and then try to turn it off. You can do it a lot easier the closer you are than holding something out at a distance, and it's the same with shooting. I've said this so many times on this channel, if you're going to take responsibility for taking an animal's life, you are obliged morally and ethically to make sure you're doing clean shots, and taking sorry, stupid ass shots at long ranges isn't the way to go. Right, hang on, I'm just going to have to turn off the camera because I'm going to have a cough and fit, and then I'll get back. Sorry about that, guys. Recovered now. Got a brew as well. Right, where were we? I was mid-rant. Right, let's crack on. Right, hopefully I discouraged you guys from taking silly long shots. My view is, if you want to take long shots, restrict it to the range and in animate objects, because there's another thing I should have touched on as well. If you're using a PCP for hunting at long range, targets don't move. Living, breathing animals do. You've only got to miscalculate your shot by a very small amount, and at very best you've got a clean miss. At very worst you've taken a wounding shot. As a responsible hunter or pest controller, it is your duty to ensure clean kills, and that's the be all and end of all of it. If you can't do it, you shouldn't be taking the shot. You need to be 100% confident in your shooting ability. The closer in, as I keep saying, the closer in, the smaller group sizes you'll be able to shoot. The smaller group sizes, less external influences will affect your accuracy, and you'll be able to produce those clean kills. End of story. Right, next thing, let's talk about PCPs versus springers. I'm not a hater of PCPs. I use them. I have already stated I'm in the market for new PCPs. I tried all the latest and greatest ones. I need one purely for close range rat work, because it's only because sometimes I'll get 2 or 3 shots in quick succession. But let's talk about springers versus PCPs in general. My honest thoughts and opinions on them. There's no doubt a decent PCP is very easy to shoot accurately. The skill level required to shoot a PCP accurately is a lot lower than what's required by nature of the beast of a spring piston powered rifle, indeed a gas ram. PCPs, I'll dispel this myth, are not recoilless. They do recoil, but it's so light it's almost negligible. With a springer, by nature of the beast, you have got a double impulse recoil. They tend to be more hold sensitive. You do have to learn to shoot the rifle, but at sensible airgun ranges, at 30, even stretching out to 35 metres, they're more than capable of producing half-inch groups, which is necessary for, in my eyes, which is necessary for being an effective hunter. Until they've got same power. The only difference is with a spring piston rifle, you're going to have to learn how to shoot it. You're going to have to you're going to have to practice your marksmanship principles. They're not just a pick up and shoot type rifle where you can expect to drill 8 bullseyes. You're going to have to learn and practice for your rifle. But to say a PCP per se is more accurate than a spring piston rifle isn't true. I would say a PCP is more easier to shoot accurately than a spring piston rifle, but you get a high-end Springer, they're more than capable of holding their own against any PCP at sensible airgun ranges, not taking it out at 60 yards, because I hope I've discouraged you from doing it, because what idiot is going to be taking shots at live quarry at that range with a 12 foot-pound air rifle? Right, but that's, so I've talked about like the positives of PCPs. Let's talk about a few negatives. Right, with my Springer, I can go into my gun cabinet, I can take it out the gun cabinet, I can grab a tin of pellets, and I can head out to the range or head out hunting. I can turn up there, I can put 5 or 6 shots down at a target, confirm my zeros held and everything's tickety-boo, and away I go. I haven't got to worry about anything else. It's literally pick up and go. If I take out a PCP, first thing I do when I move from gun cabinet is check the pressure on the cylinder. It then comes the faff of then topping it up. Okay, doesn't take very long. Connect it to a diver's bottle compressor, a few minutes, but it's an extra step before you can just get out the door and start doing your shooting. You see where I'm coming from here? And let's talk about the added expense of shooting a PCP. I can go to a gun shop, pick up like a Springer and a scope, whatever, do my zero and away I go. I don't need to worry about anything else. In fact, I don't even necessarily need to add a scope to it. A decent Springer will always have iron sights. I've got an option to just purchase the gun, some ammunition, and away I go. That isn't the case with a PCP. Alright, when you buy a PCP, these are things you've got to factor in. You have got the charging method which you have to factor in. The average diver's bottle for 3 litre diver's bottle, let me have a look, I've averaged that out to 189 quid. That's on top of the cost of your gun and your scope. We are talking about a 6 litre diver's bottle, you're then talking about £300 to £400 depending on what one you go for. But well, I average it out to 300 quid. So that's £300 on top of the cost of your rifle and your scope. Now that diver's bottle, it may last a while, but it's not going to last forever. You are going to have the added expense and inconvenience then taking it and getting it refilled. It doesn't take long to refill them, I understand that, but most gun shops don't have a facility where they can instantaneously refill your cylinder. Usually they'll say come back in an hour, 2 hours, or the next day or whatever. See where I'm going with this, guys? You're then having to go out and taken away from your shooting time to actually have a diver's bottle refilled. Okay, so you're not going to go for a diver's bottle, so you're going to go for a half decent stirrup pump, I don't know, like a Hills pump. You're talking about, for a half decent one, anything from £150 to £200 plus pounds. That's on top of the cost of your rifle, your ammunition and your scope. Start adding up now. Okay, so you've got a stirrup pump, that'll last you for ages until the O-rings give on them, and O-rings will go on the PCP and they will go on your pump and all the rest of it. So you've got a stirrup pump. You're then going to get a serious cardio workout pumping up a cylinder on your rifle, especially if it's one of the high capacity cylinders. You're going to get a severe workout. And then it then brings us on to the case then of shooter fatigue, what I talked about shooting at long ranges. If you've spent like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so pumping the rifle up, that's going to have an effect and produce fatigue in your arms. See where I'm going? Something to bear in mind. Okay, so you're like haven't got your diver's bottle, which incidentally every so many years then have to be taken away and recertified. So you're going to be without your diver's bottle while it gets recertified. Diver's bottles do have a shelf life on them. If it's out of date, if it's a reputable gun company, they will refuse to. If it's out of date, they will refuse to recharge it until it's got recertified. Then you've got a compressor. Well, if you can get cheap, nasty ones, what will last 5 minutes off Amazon, eBay, and all the rest of it. They're spending £150, £200 for a compressor, which, if you're lucky, might last 6 months, might last a year. But whatever the case is, they will fail eventually, and then you'll have to go and buy another one, which is more expensive. Or you get a high-end one which costs, I don't know, £500, £600, £700. That's on top of your rifle, guys, already. See where I'm going? This is why I favour springers. Purchase the rifle, get the scope if you want, ammo out the door, and away you go. Simples. So right, let's dispel another myth. What I've heard said quite often, you've got to move with the times, go with the latest technology. Really, guys? Really? Are PCPs the latest technology? Were you aware PCPs were around during the times of Napoleon, when they were actually used as a military weapon in warfare in the Napoleonic times? I mean, they've been around for a hell of a long time. So are they new technology? Maybe the components of them are new technology, but the actual type of rifle's been around for a very, very long time. So are they the newest technology? I don't think so. People seem to forget that. What was it? 1780. The M1780 Garadoni, I think I've pronounced that right, used by the Austrians during the times of Napoleon. So they're not really. The PCBs, like I say, the components might be the latest tech, but the actual system isn't, and it's been around a hell of a long time. Just something to bear in mind. Right, so we've done my views on PCPs, we've done it on shooting. Right, one last little whinge. It's not a whinge actually, it's a myth buster. Let's talk about digital scopes, and let's talk about a thing called a one-shot zero. My thoughts on this, and this is purely for air guns. I understand centre-fire rifles, not so much rimfire. I'd still go for even a rimfire. I would still shoot a group the same as I would with an air gun. One-shot zeros, right? So you go out and you purchase your latest, I don't know, DNT scope, your latest 1 leaf or PARD or whatever, and get it down on, get it down on range, or wherever you're going to shoot. Set your target up, you fire your shot, you have an impact, you then move across the crosshairs, press the the save button on it, and then off you go, thinking you've done your one shot zero and your rifle is all zeroed. That is a load of absolute horse manure. You need to shoot a group and get the mean point of impact. It's no good doing a single shot zero on an air rifle, and the simple reason is you do not know 100% at that shot you have put down range, what you're zeroing in isn't a flyer. You have to, everything works off a group of shots and the mean point of impact, not a single shot. So when you come to zero your, I don't know, your digital scope, fire a group of 5 shots, see where the centre, the mean point of impact is on them 5 shots, and adjust your sights across, same as you would if you were normally zeroing a scope. It's no good zeroing on a single shot. That rifle might have been in a it might have been the first shot in the magazine, where pressure on the spring inside the magazine is slightly dented the skirt. You just don't know. It could be you've just refilled your diver's bottle and you haven't reached a sweet spot. Even if it's regulated, you still want to get a kind of sweet spot. So you need to shoot your group of 5 and go off that, not a single shot. If you don't take my advice, I'll tell you what will happen at some point, and you will discover it the hard way. You'll end up chasing your zero, because like I say guys, you do not know 100% at that first shot is where all your consecutive shots would have followed. So you go off a mean point of impact. Yeah, so that's the one shot zero. And I will just go back and touch on some PCPs versus springers, and it is the magazine capacity. Let's cut to the chase on this, guys. Right, a magazine fed rifle does give you the benefit of a quick second shot if you need to do a follow-up shot, though if you're bringing your rangers in, you shouldn't really be needing a second follow-up shot. But we live in the real world, things do happen, you might misjudge the wind, whatever, so you need a quick second shot. I understand that, and I appreciate the fact that PCPs can offer that. But if we're talking about range work and stuff like that, if we're talking about rates of fire and things like that, let me throw this out here. The magazine in the rifle doesn't last forever. At some point you are going to have to you will run out of ammunition. Well, first and foremost, you're going to have to load that magazine. You'll fire your shots. Yes, you can shoot. You've got a 12 shot magazine. You can shoot that 12 shot magazine a lot faster than someone with a Springer can cotton and reloading each shot on a spring piston rifle. But what happens after you've shot that? Let's say you've got one magazine, and by the way, this is another expense with PCPs, magazines can fail, and then it's another issue to go out and buy another magazine. Right, so you've got your 12 shot magazine, you fired 12 shots. Once, I liken this to tortoise and hare. You might be able to sprint off the mark, but then you've got to stop, you've got to remove the magazine from the rifle, and then got to load each of those individual rounds in before you can start shooting again. So where I'm going with this, guys, is let's say you guys turn up on a range, because in the UK you can't preload your magazines at home and take them to your shoot. That is illegal. It's totally forbidden. If you get caught with a loaded magazine travelling to your shoot, it's counted as a loaded firearm and you can get prosecuted. Be it as it may, that's just the cold facts of things. So let's talk about two guys turn up on the range. One's got a Springer and one's got a PCP. One of them's just got the PCP shooter, we'll say, has got I don't know, one 12-shot magazine. Turn up on the range, both sit down together. The Springer shooter, we'll say we're going to shoot 30 rounds at targets. That Springer shooter, cock, load, fire, just reaching across. The PCP shooter, he turns up, he has to get his mag out, he has to take his time loading all the pellets into the magazine, he has to load it. Yes, he can then get shooting, he can rattle off them 12 shots pretty quickly. But now he's out of ammunition, then it is repeat and rinse again. So he can shoot a certain amount of shots very quickly up until his magazine's empty, and then he has to stop and reload. On those 30 shots, if you've got a 12 round magazine, we'll talk about say a BSA R12 here, and I've got my Walther LGV. Who do you think can get off those 30 rounds quickest? If we're having I don't know, a contest to see who can shoot the fastest. Not that you would, because you should be taking your time and going into all your marksmanship principles, not rushing your shots. But do you see what I mean? What I'm talking about, guys? It isn't everything having the magazine capacity there. Over a course of time, you can still get out the same amount of shots. So, you know, it's just something for food for thought. And by the way, guys, you do get magazine fed Springers as well. BSA Gold Star springs to mind. So yeah, I hope this video, though it come across as a bit of a rant at the beginning, and I apologise for having a coughing fit. I just want to put this across to bring your shots in, please guys, please, but just be humane and ethical shooters if you're shooting live quarry, and that's all I ask. But for the other guys out there, if I'm watching UK YouTube channels on there advocating shooting at ridiculous ranges, I will say something, and I'll be sitting here again doing the same sort of video, but then I'll start naming and shaming the channels, because at the end of the day, I appreciate there are some bloody fine shooters out there what can do it, but it's your responsibility to put it across to all levels of shooters across the board, and to say very blasé that every shooter's capable of doing that is absolutely nonsense. So I'm sorry about the whinge, guys. I hope you find this video interesting, and I feel that strongly about this video. I'm not going to click on monetize the video. I just want to put this video out there and get it out as quick as I can, just to help the newbies out there. And I apologise to the old school guys out there, because when you know, you know. Cheers, guys.